Thank you very much for joining me on this, my journey into the constraints-led approach for BJJ. I'm your host, Sam Battlefields, and today we are going to try something a little different again. Woo! So I've been scripting these videos for the past couple of weeks, and they're not helping. They're not helping me. I've got a backlog now of a ton of scripts. I was trying to do kind of a combination of a topic that I could then meld in with what was going on in the class that day. It felt like I was pulling at straws. I've got literally 8 or 9, maybe 10 scripts that are sitting there ready to go. I just finished one called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Why do you need to understand where I think I am on the Dunning-Kruger effect? So kind of figure if I've got the editing capabilities, I'll just wrap into the camera like I have been and then do what I have been doing, but it's not fucking scripted. I don't know if that's going to work, but if it does, awesome. If it doesn't, oh well, this is what was working before, and maybe I can make it a bit more punchy, but without just putting it at 2 times speed. Without further ado, so today, it's an interesting one today. I wrote the plan for this lesson at 1:30 this morning. Didn't want to rush it when I got to the gym. Sat down and started to write it. I'd worked through some stuff in my head. Obviously started with our normal stuff, warm-up tag. I ended up throwing an extra win condition as such into the mix, which was if you can get the ankle, you get to rest. Obviously, when it's a 1-minute round, that's not a fucking big thing, right? It's not something that you really care about. But I wanted them to think that there was an extra little bit that they could do. Right. The next game was overhook and underhook from standing, and the goal for the person with the overhook was to try and get 2-on-1 and their chest on their tricep. So it didn't matter how they could do a tie, they could get round the back. Didn't really bother me. The goal was to see if they were going to be able to control the person with the overhook first, and then get that 2-on-1. The next game, person with the underhook could get their hands clasped around. The idea was that they could get their hand all the way across the other side of the hip. Little bit of difficulty with this for some reason. I'm not meaning to be. What I was looking to do is have dogfight where we're both on our knees. We're in the dogfight position, overhook, underhook, and the goal was to put them on their hips or their back. That was the game. I don't know if I should be stipulating harder. You need to keep this underhook and you need to keep this overhook. That's the constraint. I don't know if I need to do that, because it seems pretty obvious that if I start you there, you don't just disengage and then roll. The question is it a coaching issue? Am I not explaining well enough? That when we're playing these games, they are slices of the real game. So doing shit that isn't representative of the real game is not doing any service to you. But then I think, yeah, but what about people who've never played the real game anyway? You've got to constrain it way more than you're doing, because these new kids that are going to come in, they don't know what you're doing, right? I'll get to what I mean in a second. And why I'm a little frustrated around this. So we then went into half guard. The goal, the person on the bottom, they had the deepest underhook, right? And the only thing that they had to do, they were on their side. Their goal was to get their ear on the person's back. That was their task. And the constraint that the person on top, they weren't allowed to use the whizzer. Right? And somehow, they just weren't figuring out that you had to move. You had to move. And then I turn around, and how did you get flattened out? So, and these are fairly experienced guys, right? Now, I'm not having a go. I'm wondering, 3 months ago, they were doing well with this. Have I changed that much in my execution that now I'm maybe not giving enough? Maybe. So what ended up happening was one of the guys, as soon as he sort of started seeing the guy going out the back, and so he flopped onto his back and just went, yeah, well, you can't get your ear on my back. And I'm like, it's about representativeness. How do I say you have to have representativeness? But not in a dickish way. You're like, how do I do that? That's my challenge at the moment. I've now got a room where I've got brand newbies working with people that they've got a bit more experience. They might understand the game a little bit better than them, but that also maybe want to show it as well, rather than pull in the same direction. The next game that we played was, again, I wanted to really try and get this idea that if you're controlling that inside space, the underhook's for the person on top, and they just had to free their leg and get to their knee on either side or on the front of the hip. That's all they had to do, right? All they had to do. And it was difficult. I mean, the constraints were right. It just felt like every game had every game resulted in a question from the gallery, and those questions seemed to like muddy the waters. Dude, if I say put my ear on your back, that doesn't mean flop on your back. I wonder how good this video is going to come out. It was actually pretty good. There was experimentation. They were connecting dots. They connected the intention that I had, the standing to the guard and even to the control as well. Two things that I would improve. Upfront comms about the games. I don't know what I need to do there. I have tried to simplify my language so much that I think it's got to a point where it's too simple for people, and the affordances that they glean from it are just so wide that it gives them analysis paralysis. That's the best analysis I can give at this point. And specific instruction, I don't know why I wrote that. I did take some footage, so what I'll be doing is maybe using that as part of this video. I'll see how that goes. Yeah, cool. Anyway, if you want to learn more, go to battlefieldsgrappling.com.au and fill in the form. Everyone else, like, comment, subscribe.